Start recording. Great. All right, so we're going to go through a really similar step that we did yesterday, except this time we want to use view router as well. So we're going to do, what's the command to create a view project again? View create. I'm going to call this G107 humans.
Should we be coding along?
No. So generally, we'll take like a break and you can catch up. And I'll try to take them a little bit more frequently this time, so that we can, yeah.
Do you have a copy of your work so each day we can like stay up to date?
Yeah, I added it to that post that I stickied yesterday or pinned. There's the GitHub repo for everything that we did yesterday. I didn't do the button because Michael did the button for us. But yeah, it's up there. And this will be up at the end of today as well. So I have a preset for this already, but we're going to go ahead and manually select the features. I do want Babel. What is Babel? Who remembers what Babel is? What? It's a transpiler, or also known as a compiler, right? They're kind of used interchangeably. And what does that do?
It translates the code to what the computer can read, basically.
To what the browser can read. Right. But no, good. Because a lot of browsers still can't read like ES6. So like things like Babel will take TypeScript or CopyScript or your ES6 JavaScript and compile it into something that the browser or all browsers can read. Good. We are not using TypeScript. We are not making a progressive web app. We are going to be using router. Oh, I always do that. Spacebar. Cool. We are not going to be using our state management, which is Vuex. Not using any preprocessors for CSS, which I didn't double check, but I think you are right. Actually, Amy, you can probably help with this.
Yeah.
CSS preprocessors are things like Sass and SCSS. Yes,
What about them?
that's what they are.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
totally.
cool.
Yeah, they have to also compile down to CSS.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. We're also not going to be doing any unit testing or end-to-end testing for this project. INTA. Use history mode for router. Nah. Pick a linter. I'm going to go with ESLint in the standard config. Then tell them save.
Damn, they let you pick a linter in the view CLI? What?
The view CLI is boss.
That is dope.
Um,
Golly.
Again, I prefer having things in dedicated config files because separation of concerns, right? You can put them on your package.json if you want them. But I'm going to do in dedicated config files. Say this is a preset. Now. Okay. Boop doop a doop a doop a doop a doop. And while that's doing stuff, let me see if I can figure out why this is broken. Node.js. Oh. Hooray. Alright, cool. Dun, 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 dun. So what's nice about router is that it already has the router kind of set up. UCLI is super useful, so we're not going to have to start from scratch here. It has examples already built into it, which include like a way to lazy load components when you go to a certain route instead of loading them all up front, which is good for initial load time, right? But we will be able to take a look at that in a second. Otherwise, this project is going to look very similar to the last one. There's going to be one other difference, which is going to be on our insertion point in the app.js, I think it is in Vue. But as soon as it's finished loading, we will be able to take a look at that. I also really like the emojis that they have in the Vue CLI as it's building stuff. You got a little rocket ship, got a nice box.
Nice box.
It's a really nice box. Looks like they triple taped the top of it too. I think it's not coming open. Yeah. Woo! Yeah. Okay. So, wow, did I just make that within this? G107 humans. G107 humans. Code dot. Let's get in there. All right, so where do you guys think our router is going to be? Package.json. It is in there. Good call. Where do you think the router file is going to be?
Where it's gonna be?
Yeah. What folder? Source. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Router.js. Boom. It's already built. We don't have to do anything crazy. We just have to add our routes in. Right? So UCLI takes care of a lot of this stuff for us. So we're importing Vue, we're importing router, and then we're importing our main component from views. So this came pre-built with a views folder because of router. So instead of routing to components, you route to views, right? That house a bunch of different components, whatever components you want them to hold. So this application structure looks really similar to what we did before, except that we have this router file. And so this just exports this new router, right? And then in our main.js, that's where the router goes in when we're mounting our app. Does anybody have any questions about that? It's kind of magic. It kind of did a lot of it for us, and we don't really have to worry about it.
Could you go back to home?
Yeah. I was going to make a joke about going home, but, instead I just thought I'd tell you about thinking about making a joke about going home. It's even better. Yeah.
Okay, so there's nothing in there.
Nope. All your components, you're going to write them the exact same way, right? Nothing is going to change about the way you write them. What is going to change is that in your router, you're going to need to have a path, a name, and then you can either import the component, like meow, and pass it into the component, or you can do this, which lazy loads the component whenever the route is visited. So you're not actually importing it and holding it in the router. You're waiting until that route is visited, and then it loads that component. Because basically what this function evaluates to is that component, right? I'm going to delete some of this junk. So that's kind of what it looks like. Linter hates it. Don't worry about it. It works. So, and just to make sure that I didn't break anything deleting that comment, let's take a moment and npm, what do you do for Vue again? Run serve. I actually spent 30 minutes one time trying to do npm serve, and because I was new to the Vue CLI 3, and then I was like, oh, I should have just Googled that. That was dumb. Cool. Home, about. Notice up here. Home, about. It's doing the thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. If y'all want to get to this point real quick, I'll give you, it should take 5 minutes to get the Vue CLI set up and to download all that stuff. So I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock.
I love how Angular has no styling on their stock intro page. It's the most hideous. It has just a giant Angular logo and then regular HTML H tags.
Yeah.
I'm like, did Google make this shit?
Yeah.
It's all perfect and styled.
I believe it's 2019.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and this font is just so boss. I use it so long in the development process that I just leave it the whole time. It's a good font, yeah.
Yeah.
Who made Vue?
Somebody that's spun off from React, right?
I'm not sure. I want to say Linus Borg, but I think I'm wrong. Vue creator. Evan Yu. Oh, he worked with Angular. Yep. I mean, it draws a lot, like those directives and stuff, that's all part of Angular. As you've noticed, React does not have any of those. You're just writing JavaScript the whole time. Thanks, Evan.
Which ES Linter do you pick? First one?
I picked standard. Airbnb is just really brutal. And standard tends to be like a little bit more forgiving, just focuses on quotes and semicolons and spacing.
Cool. Router and
Was
Linter.
Airbnb
Are these the three recent, right?
Yeah.
One more time?
Babel, Router, and Linter are just the three.
Those are the three that I use, yeah. And Logan?
I was just saying, was Airbnb made for you?
No. I don't know what they use for Airbnb.
They do have a in-house animation library called Lottie. that
Which
they-
is?
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, I think it's like LOTTIE or something.
Correct.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's dope.
I don't know what framework was used to build Airbnb.
Expecting enough copy of that.
Yeah.
You might be able to tell from digging around in the inspector in your web app.
Wow, I just hit a really weird character. Greater than or equal to.
I'm just curious why they offer the Airbnb Linter.
The Airbnb linter is like super popular, just for people in general. It's a really strict linter though, because like I guess Airbnb's all of their code has to conform to this very specific style. I don't like it because it is too strict for me, and they do use like double quotes and semicolons and a bunch of other opinionated things that I'm completely against, because I don't want to hit shift and then quote. And I don't want to have to hit a semicolon at the end of my line. I just want to smash that enter button.
The hard return.
That hard return. I don't know. Blocked, blocked, blocked. Oh. React is detecting it, so maybe it's all React. Ooh. I mean, look at their state. Look at that. Oh. No params. Okay. How's everybody doing on creation? Gucci? Oh, thanks, ankle. Does anybody need a minute longer? Okay. So let's talk about what views we want to have for this application. That way we can kind of like at least get a little scaffolding going to figure out where what goes who when. So I figure we want to have a home page, right? We'll have a home page. What else? So this is like the G107 View Squad page. What else should we have? For each individual person? Individual, human. Great. I wasn't planning really on listing everybody on the home page. So maybe like a group page for everybody. View squad group. I don't know, anything else? About an about page? We could probably put that on the home page, but like, we're gonna do an about page too. So that sounds pretty good to me so far. Does anybody else have any additions, subtractions, things they'd like to change in this kind of view layout? We're gonna have these 4 pages. Cool? So the first thing that I'm going to do right now, just so that I know that all the things are working, is I'm going to create these 4 views in my views folder, and then I'm going to connect them to the router. just so that I can like make sure right off the bat that that is going to function the way that I want it to. So I'm gonna go over here. We have an about already. We have a home. Those two are already built in. So I'm gonna do a new file. I'm gonna do use squad. How about individual dot view and new file group dot view. I'm gonna go ahead and smash the template script style scoped. Same on individual. Actually. And the template, I'm just going to put a nice H1. Individual. Yell it real loud. And in the group, I'm also going to put another H1 without caps because I'm not yelling at my H1. Group. I'm going to come over to my router. And I'm going to do the lazy load for all the rest of these. So let's just say path, not yelling. So for group, we're going to do, we'll just call it squad. Name, group, and then the component, we're going to do that lazy load thing, import dot slash view slash group dot view.
Situations where you wouldn't want to do lazy load.
That's a great question. If you just wanted everything to load up front, again, this is something, it'll increase your initial load time for the page, but then everything afterwards is just like bam, 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 bam. This way, it kind of decreases your initial load a little bit, and then each time you click a page, it might take like a third, quarter of a second longer, maybe. Because again, a lot of this stuff like is loaded up front, but just like the import of that specific view all this stuff happens so fast. If you had really, really heavy pages, this is definitely a good thing to do. It's not necessary by any means though. I didn't ever do this until like when I used the new Vue CLI, and I saw that was a thing I could do, and I was like, oh sweet, I'm just going to do that every time. So as far as use cases go, you could just do the standard import up here and then pass that into the component name, and you're never going to have any issue really. I'm just doing this because I'm like, cool, it's a nifty thing you can do. All right, so let's see if that one page works. Home, about, I didn't add a link to it. So that brings us to another thing. Let's see, components, we have hello world. Does our home have our router? Does hello world have our router? Where are we getting this navbar thing? Class hello, we got messages. Is it in our app? There it is. So, something to take note of. These are the things you will use to navigate around your page. They're called router links. That is the name of the tag. Can y'all see back there? Is that better? That is the name of the tag. It takes this parameter 2, and it'll send it to that route, right? So what happens is this sends you to that route. The router is going to pick up that route and render a certain component based on that, right? So about is the path that will load this component. And if we look at our app, this is a router link to about. Any questions on that? Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and make another one. And I'm going to say this one goes to, I'm going to use double quotes, squad. Normally I would change everything in here to single quotes, but I'm just going to use double instead. So I expect there to be, where is it? Oh, Squad. There we go. And give it that nice thing. Cool. All right. Squad. There we go. Okay. So that is another page rendering. Great. But the thing about the individual one is that I don't really want a navbar link to like individual, right? We want like a list in the group, and then you want to click on one, and then it render that person's like all their information in a separate page. Does that make sense? You all on board with that? Cool. So we're gonna have to do something different there, and I believe I'm actually not exactly sure how I want to do that. Because you can pass props through the router, but I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit there. So what I kind of want to do now is, before we dive too deep into the logic of how we're going to render that specific person's card on the individual page, I want to kind of go through and clean this stuff up. Like I don't care about this hello world component. I want to get that out of there. I don't want this logo. As far as views go, on home, you need to get rid of this stuff. Clean some of that up. Dun, 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 dun. This is an about page. That's my group page. Here's my home page. Cool. So on home, what kind of message should we leave to the people who are visiting the page?
Should we catch up to you?
Yeah, sure. So what we've done so far is added that one view for the group, and then put that route into our router, as well as adding that link, the router link in the navbar. Thanks for the heads up.
Can I see your router?
Mm-hmm.
We don't need the mode and the base under the export for router.
Sorry?
Can we get rid of the mode and the base for the export and router? I saw you do that, but just making sure.
Sorry,
It's,
which part was
It
it?
says mode, history, and base, the process environment.
Oh, mode history. Yeah, get rid of that.
Would we normally get rid of that?
So I'm not exactly sure what the history mode does, because you can still go back and forth with it. It's like if you use the back button, it'll take you to home. Should.
Well, that's good, that's good, that's fine.
Let's see what happens when you actually like click the. Yeah. Okay. So it'll still navigate you around with that. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't used that before, so that is something to definitely research a little bit more.
Just created the route to group, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Give me a thumbs up when y'all are good. Cool. Austin, good? Cool. Caroline? Good?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Okay, so we got our about, we got our home, we got our squad. Let's put some sort of message on the home page. Will somebody help me out? What should I put? To what?
Welcome to G1.
Welcome home.
Sure. Check out our view squad. Alright. So then we got a squad over here. So what we're going to do now is we kind of got a little bit of a home page. We've done no extra styling. View font, whatever they use, looks great. The about page, we don't have too much information, but I'm not like specifically concerned with the content. It's more the navigation here. So we're kind of going to glaze over that a little bit. And then we're going to go to the squad page. All right, so this is where we need to make our call to our API, and we need to get the data for all of you. So I'm going to go to the group page. So what do we need to do to get that information from our API? We need to do a fetch. Great. What like key do we write our fetch under? Methods, right? And methods, not caps. Methods is a key, and its value is an object. So we're going to call it, yeah, what's up?
Does the order matter
No.
in this export default? Cool.
Doesn't matter at all. Good question. It's helpful for you as a developer to do it in kind of a similar order to what you know, but Vue doesn't care.
Cool.
All right, what do we want to call it? Help. What's the name of our method? Fetch data. That's a little too generic, but that's not bad. Huh?
Useless people.
We have useless superpowers.
That's true, but that doesn't mean you're useless people.
Useless superheroes?
Okay, all right.
Alright.
Get useless superheroes. Superhero is one word, right? Yeah.
Really
Okay.
useless.
Great. So now we need to write a fetch. What's my URL again? What's my URL again? What's my URL again? Oh. I'll put it in the channel. Cool, and then we're going to do our nice dot then. Make sure the response is JSONified. And then, yeah, console.log. Okay, so at this point, is this code going to run, do anything, whatever? Is anything going to happen with this?
It'll show up in the console log.
Will it?
Maybe. Or view.
In our console, we have nada. In our view, if we go to app, and then we go to group, we've got the route. We've got access to the route. But we don't have any data. Why? We don't have a data like key, right? But more than that, what are we not doing with our function? We're not calling it, right? We're going to use that nice lifecycle method called mounted. Mounted. This dot get useless superheroes. Let us see. Let's go back to the console. Hey, we got an array of 7 students. That is dope. Comes back. It is an object with a key of students, and the value of that key is an array. All right, so make note of that because we want to only store the array. We don't really care about the initial key, right? So, how are we going to store that? We need to do 2 things. What's the first? We need to set something up. Data, which is what?
Returns an object.
Data is a function that returns an object. Data, function, return, object, comma. Great. And then let's go ahead and establish like a piece of state here. All right. Useless superheroes. No, not get. So, I'm going to kind of break this on purpose right now. We're going to make it null. So that's one thing. And this will reset when we do our fetch. It'll reset this variable fine. It'll just break it farther down the line. Okay, so what do we need to do now? How do we set useless superheroes to the value of our response in our fetch?
Scroll down to mount.
Who remembers? Like React has that set state function. Do we use something like that?
Let's just set props.
Nope, not quite. Not a bad guess. So it's as easy as reassigning that variable, right?
Response is this stuff. What did you call it? Useless superheroes?
Yeah, so we're going to say useless superheroes equals response. Right? It's just a simple reassignment. We don't have the thing in React where you use set state, which, why do you use that in React? Anybody remember? We talked about it a little bit yesterday. Set state forces the component to update because you're saying, I set the state, you need to look at it and update my component accordingly, right? We're not doing that. Vue is still watching to see if there are any changes here, but we're just not explicitly telling the framework that we are changing that value. It's watching, it sees the change, it updates, right? Cool, so let's see if this works. Oh, useless superheroes is not defined. Why might that be? We forgot a keyword here. This dot useless superheroes. Good. Great. Now, getting no errors. Let's hop into our Vue Dev Tools. Check out group. Oh yeah, useless superheroes is an object that has a key of students whose value is an array of 7. And remember, we just want to we don't want the key students in our state. That doesn't really help us. So how can we kind of strip that out of here?
What'd you say?
If we look at our, we're setting useless superheroes to this object. The key of the object is students, and the value of that is an array. We just want the array. So what can we do to set, our useless superheroes key equal to an array, that array of students? Is my question really cryptic? Austin?
Would you do it as useless superheroes is equal to response dot useless superheroes?
You're really close. So if we look at our response, it is an object, and then the key is students, and then the value is the array.
Oh yeah, okay.
So instead of use of superheroes, it would be response dot students. Yeah. Right. So the value of response dot students is an array. So we can come back in here. Sure, anonymous component. Useless superheroes is now an array with a length of 7. That's a lot easier for us to create, right? Okay, cool. So we've fetched our data. We've set it to like Vue's version of state, which is the data function, which is a function that returns an object. And the next thing we need to do is basically to start like populating this data on our page. But before we do that, it is 11, so we've been in here for an hour, and I strongly suggest, actually, it's a mandatory break. Yeah, take a break. We'll reconvene at like 11:10. This is 11:02.
People are hovering.
No,
Like,
so
look.
it's not up.
A bunch of comment cards. What? What's that? You've only 25